Greetings and welcome back, everyone, to Into the Nexus, the podcast about Heroes of the Storm. I am Garrett Weinzierl, and with me, as always, is Kyle Ferguson. Kyle, welcome back.
Oh, thank you. You know, we were going to have a pretty normal show tonight. We've done this sort of thing before. Have some, public test realm notes.
Yep.
Casually make our way through the new hero that's going to be coming out. But darn it, Blizzard said no. And they wanted us to be confused tonight and dive in flummoxed.
They flipped the switch on a new blog post about a test map that is actually up live right now, about an hour before the show. And about an hour before the show, Kyle, I don't know about you, but that's when I get my eat on.
Right.
I go do food, and it's also tonight, apparently, when I eat, and then I immediately start doing wedding crafts.
Pro tip, you can't eat while you do podcasting.
No, you can't. I mean, you can, but most people would stop listening to your podcast.
Yes.
And I understand and I respect that because I am one of those people. I will stop listening to your podcast if you eat while you're doing it.
And unless you're like top Twitch or top YouTube, people probably don't want to watch you eat either.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but that's probably the main figure at the top of my totem pole for things that just send shivers down my spine. Like, I don't want to listen. I hate hearing people eat.
Yeah, it's okay with me. I can deal with it, but Sludge Belcher and Chen just something about that weirds me out, man.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. I mean, and Stitches. Don't forget Stitches.
Yes.
He actually devours you.
That's gross overlay.
It is. It's super gross.
And I got to see it again this week. Darn it.
I did.
Oh, I feel like I'm going back in time.
Me too, but only because you and I were playing on the PTR, and nothing makes sense on the PTR. I don't know why I do it. You think I would learn by now? I never have a good time when I play on the PTR.
Of course you don't. There's no MMR over there.
No,
eventually,
it's a nightmare.
You're right. Over time, like I'm already, maybe level 16 on the PTR just from playing over there so much. And eventually, apparently, I'm going to reach Heroes League on the PTR, which will also be awful because there's no MMR or enough people to fill it out correctly.
Yeah.
So
man.
All we can do is just kind of hope that these changes are good and enjoy experimenting with them.
Yeah. It's it is what it is. I had some fun with Lieutenant Morales. We'll talk about here in a second. But I was actually, this is the first time ever, Kyle, where like there was a new character, a new hero up on the PTR, and I was more interested in trying out the changes to some of my old staple heroes than I was actually playing the new shiny.
It's going to be wacky, man. I know you used to play a lot of ETC, and he's back at the same time Stitches is looking like he's going to be back, and Tassadars are running around, and I'm still waiting in line to try Tyrande after the championships 2 weekends ago, and now I'm going to be waiting even longer in line because people are going to be trying out those changes.
Yep, have fun with that, man. Have fun with that. I will say the thing that no,
I want to get this out there because I hate saying I told you so. So guys, all right, on the 6th, the patch comes out. There's a lot of changes. Don't Hero League if you want to care about it, right?
Don't
cool.
Hero League if you want to what?
If you care about your Heroes League, and you're going to get upset that people are picking Stitches, ETC, Tyrande, whatever in there, just don't play Hero League for a little bit. It's real easy.
Oh, gotcha. It's not because Quick Match sucks.
True. But I love the game enough to enjoy that and find things to experiment with in Quick Match. But I will definitely be taking a break from Heroes League until that gets ironed out. It's the right thing to do.
That sounded really definitive, and it's the kind of statements that I generally don't really like, so I'm going to backpedal that a bit. Every now and then I get in the mood for Quick Match, everyone, okay? I am human. I played a lot of Tychus this week in Quick Match. Just seriously, though, at a game where it was like 3 warriors, a Tyrande, and me, I'm just like, how is that? How does that happen? They keep
meta, man.
They keep telling me they fixed the matchmaking, but I'm not seeing it, Kyle. I'm not seeing it. Not in Quick Match, anyway. But and there'll be some more Quick Match rage a little bit later when we move into the PTR patch notes. But you know what has me the most excited this week, Kyle? What just brings just shines the warmest light on the deepest recesses of my heart?
What's that?
Sale items and spending real money, because I finally picked up Murky StarCraft 2 skin, and I could not be happier.
Awesome. I know I haven't gotten to see your Murky very much, but I know you fell in love with him a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. I sat down with your wife, and she schooled me in the way of baby murlocs. And it's I like me some Murky. I don't think I will ever take him into Hero League, but if I'm just gonna embrace the madness, embrace the chaos that is quick match, Murky is my man.
Yeah, no, he's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
And that is a excellent looking skin. Little visor comes down, has a face on it, covers Murky's new kind of frightening face rather than the old cutesy one.
I still don't like his new face.
I'm a little excited because it gives me hope that we're gonna have other Murlocs in the game because they had to make Murky look more unique, possibly.
I think you're stretching for that. I mean,
Maybe.
why really? What else? What other Murloc hero is really just beating down the door of the Nexus like this? Oh, clearly, I mean, we haven't gotten the Lurgle, so clearly, he's gonna be coming right around there's nothing.
No.
There's absolutely nothing Murloc related that could be coming around the corner.
Who's the one with charge in Hearthstone?
There's
the 2/4.
a couple of them with charge. You're talking about like the
Lieutenant Grimscale or something like that?
The legendary one that you have to collect
Yeah.
all of the other ones to get. Oh God, you're putting me on the spot.
Oh no, you don't know a Murloc deck. I think you're okay, man.
No, I knew it was I something. It's Old Murkai.
There we
Thank
go.
you, chat room.
Thank you, chat.
Yeah, Old Murkai. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, I guess you could do that. You could do Cookie from the Dead Mines. Running around with a little show. But again, these could all just be skins.
Right, I would love
Murky.
an Asmodan Murky, and then you summon little Murlocs.
Oh, that'd be really cool.
Toss eggs or something like that.
Oh, I'd be so into that. Oh my God, somebody make that happen, please, and thank you.
Deep Sea Asmodan. Oh yeah, and then make it look like Ursula. We're all set.
Oh wow. God, Team One, get on that, please. Thank you.
As if they don't have enough. I saw an article today that we're not going to go over because it was a bit of fluff, but they said that they have 200 heroes on the list, the same sort of list we talked about last week that has Deckard Cain on it.
Right. Oh man, I want that. I want to see that list. We're going to be down there for BlizzCon. I think I'm going to sneak into someone's office and steal a list or two.
Right, do the old National Treasure thing and get a tour of the White House and just kind of linger back.
Oh yeah, because that totally would happen.
Right?
Yep.
And bring your little spray can so you can hit the cameras and then run in, just take photos of all the whiteboards.
Yeah, because if you hit a camera with spray paint in the White House, there wouldn't be 20 armed guards just down on. Actually, there wouldn't be. There'd be one, and you'd be dead.
Hey, if video games have taught us anything, they'd probably go, must have been the wind.
Well, I've been playing a lot of Metal Gear, so it would just go bring, and that'd be it. The alert sound with the. Never mind. Anyway, this week it's time to talk about it. This week's Heroes of the Storm news.
We're on, boys! Ha ha! Let's liven up this place!
Point me to the stage.
Stay a while and listen.
So this week, there's quite a bit to talk about, but we're going to kick it off with our first impressions on Lieutenant Morales, the StarCraft 2 medic who is playable on the PTR and looks like we'll be going live this Tuesday. She's interesting. We kind of theory craft. I just didn't really theory craft last week, but we kind of were discussing our concerns with her about how she doesn't have a healing heroic. Mm-hmm. And you've played quite a lot of her. I have not. Like I said, I kind of got in and I was like, ooh, I'm going to buy Lieutenant Morales. And I'm like, oh, wait, there's all these interesting changes to Tyrande and ETC. And that's what I ended up.
Also, the 20-minute wait is kind of a factor.
The 20-minute wait is absolutely a factor. But so what did you walk away with on from the medic? Do you think, my first question to you and always my first concern about any new support, do you think she can be a solo support?
Right, and that is tough to say.
It's Mr. Candidate, you're not allowed to dance around this. That's a simple yes or no question.
Okay, much like Rexar could be a solo warrior if people don't know to target him, Lieutenant Morales can be a solo support if you can keep people off her.
Gotcha. So no is your answer.
Probably not, but it's a great place to insert those Tassadars, those Tyrandas, maybe even some wacky respect other solo supports that can really take advantage of things like Bloodlust And, what about like Divine Storm? What if we saw that again? Because frankly, Healing Beam, her Q is amazingly powerful. Over the course of the game, that ramps up to such a degree. It is just an amazing skill.
Okay.
But drains a ton of mana. You will have mana issues as Morales if people see that laser connecting to them and they go, oh, I'm invincible, right? It's like, well, yes, for probably about 10 seconds, and then I'm out of mana.
Yeah. She's interesting. Now, are you really calling for a double support meta where you team up with a Rhaegar and the Rhaegar goes Bloodlust even though you can take Stim Drone?
Well, why wouldn't you want to stack those?
I guess that's a good point. You know why? Because in my PTR playing, the one thing that did bring joy in the pile of craziness that is trying to play an actual game of Heroes on PTR was the medevac dropship. And I am just downright impressed by how the Heroes team managed to create and implement this as an ability.
We had a lot of fears, right? And we've seen a lot of abilities in other MOBAs that are very bad or very hard to coordinate outside of all being on voice chat together. And actually, the medevac is rather elegant.
Yeah.
It pops down. It's real easy to see. There's plenty of time to load up. You can take off early if you wish. It has its own sort of health pool, too, so it can fly over buildings, but it will get attacked by them. It lands. If it's destroyed, everyone's inside it is stunned, kind of Lost Viking ship style. But other than that, it's got some amazing utility, a limited range, and that's to say that you can go from the top to bottom of Blackheart's Bay, but you can't go from left to right all the way.
You can't go from core to core.
Right.
Yeah, that's not going to happen, but there's plenty of range on it. What map were we on? I don't even remember now. I want to say it was Haunted... No. Cursed Hollow, where it's got the bosses in the corners.
Yes.
And we were winning. We were already ahead, but we would get a couple kills, and then we would just all pile in the dropship and zoom to the other damn side of the map and start taking boss. And there was nothing the other team could do about it. It was just gross.
And with a 50-second cooldown, we loaded right back up in that same medevac and flew to the second boss on Cursed Hollow and took that as well.
Yeah. Chat room is asking if you need sight of the landing zone, and you don't.
No, you do not. Which would be interesting because then you could really take advantage of Abathurs or anything else that could give you that sight. But here you can just pick up and land. And that does mean you can land in the middle of somewhere you don't know where they are. And I've seen it going horribly. The most memorable one was a video I saw on Reddit of a blind medevac flying into the waiting arms of an ETC mosh pit.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good and bad thing that that's the case. First of all, it's the most like StarCraft, and it's also just as punishing in StarCraft if you don't scout before you try and drop somewhere.
Exactly.
It's wonderful. I mean, I think you and I had the same kind of main concern, which was, do you call this down? It just automatically picks everyone up, and that's not the case. There's no loss of player agency. Like, the only person who's automatically brought into the dropship is the medic herself.
Right.
And like you said, Kyle, there's plenty of warning that it's coming. A little toast message shows up in the chat screen that says, so-and-so is called in a medevac. And the other team can see this too, which I think is a huge point to dwell on for a second.
Right. It's a lot like, a Nidus network is in the current game, where it alerts everyone that it's happening because it's such a big, big deal.
Right.
And right now you just see the text. If you are getting entirely dominated, it can be really frustrating to be on that Cursed Hollow map, locked inside your own base, see the boss get taken, and then text pop up, and you hear the sound effect of the medevac going off. And you never see where it's going, but you can assume it's to the second boss.
Yep, and that's exactly what we were doing in our game, and it worked beautifully.
It was fun for us.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, if I was on the receiving end of this, I'd be super angry. But again, it kind of felt like a win more ability at that point.
Right.
I don't necessarily see how this is going to help you get ahead in a game when you're behind. Maybe if you're able to to eke out a kill against the other team, it will allow you to get to a faraway merc camp or boss that you otherwise wouldn't have had the time to actually relocate your entire team to take safely. It's the only thing I can think of. But every time I've seen it used kind of how I would say correctly, or in a way that really gives you a lead, it kind of feels like we were already winning and now we're just crushing.
Right. For pushing, though, it's a little too, unless you're using it as an escape, it's a little too dangerous. Because with push comps, you're going to be delivering maybe a Gazlo, Sylvanas, maybe a Murky Asmodan, something like that that's not very good at getting out in the first place. And if you drop them there, you have no escape. Whereas if you can push there naturally and then use the chip to get out, that's a really good strategy. The Medivac has 400 more hit points than the Medic does. Basically, that's not through every level, but right at level 10, that's what it is.
Yeah. But overall, I'm so impressed by how they managed to bring a Medivac into Heroes of the Storm and make it work. And I think they nailed it. I have no idea if this is going to end up working out on, in the competitive scene. But as it stands, they've quelled all of my concerns pretty much.
And as for Stim Drone right now, it has many of the same issues as something like Divine Palm or Divine Shield when those abilities first came into the game. People have it go off on them. They're not entirely sure that it is on them, and they run away. They get nervous. They forget to maybe auto-attack during that time. Hammers, maybe don't siege up in the correct range, but they're the best target for it. I'm expecting when this goes live next week, we're going to see mostly Medivacs until we're all used to the Stim Drone, or Blizzard can work in an overlay that makes it really easy, much like those other abilities, to tell that you're under the effects of it.
Yeah. So, moving on a little bit, but still staying kind of with Morales and the PTR in general, Browder made a tweet saying that there are no major balance changes planned before the PTR patch goes live, and he also went on to say that they actually get a lot of their bug reports from the PTR, and they can fix things in that case. Said, quote, not going to tune cooldowns based on PTR, 1 week of PTR, that is, not a great test environment for hardcore balance. So it appears that the PTR is to catch bugs, not to help balance upcoming changes that are, sliding down the pipe at us.
Which is important to note, because one thing we've been doing on this show is kind of holding back our opinions and what actually is happening with the heroes in the game when we see them on the PTR. And this tells us what we've all been seeing. Every change that is in the PTR for a hero basically is going live. Yeah. Unless it's a bug.
No, absolutely. That's a big thing to kind of understand. So that means we can move into our next topic and basically read it like, hey, this is set in stone, which is the PTR patch notes. If you've been listening to the show for a while, you know how this goes. But just to reiterate, we're not going to hit every single individual point from the patch notes. There are way too many to talk about. You would be a drooling puddle of snore on the floor at the end of this if we were to do that. We are going to hit highlights, and I do believe we're going to talk about just about every single hero that's having changes made to them. But let's kick it off. Let's kick it off with some of the general changes. Really, the only general change I wanted to highlight is that there is a new visual effect that has been added to the game that lets you know when you are being targeted by an enemy structure. You kind of see a large crosshair underneath your feet when you start getting wailed on by a tower. And Kyle, I love it.
It's convenient, right? I mean, You can see those bolts flying at you, but this is very visual. It tells you exactly what's going on. So good. Yeah,
because sometimes when the whole team's going in, I can't quite tell if I'm getting smacked on by the tower or not.
Well, and they did a great job making it dangerous because new players need to know that towers are not to be trifled with.
Yep, exactly. I like that. Onto the UI. Surveys are coming. I know this doesn't sound all that interesting, but we are getting in-game surveys, and they may show up for you after a quick match, a hero, or a team league game. So keep an eye on that. I'm very curious to see what the questions are going to be. They didn't specify in the patch notes, but
right. These are usually going to be really general questions like, how do you feel about the last match? Did you enjoy X player on your team? Did you feel like the matchmaking was working well for you? Those sort of things. It's Skype-level questions, right?
At the end, how is the quality of this game? Rate it 1 to 5 stars. Buffs and debuffs. Oh, I'm so excited about this. They added a new healing fountain icon to the right of the hero portrait to indicate whether or not a healing fountain is available for use or on cooldown for you. I love this. It's so much better than the old one. It actually shows time, not just a weird circle that really doesn't tell you all that much.
Mm-hmm.
Like it a lot.
It's great. It works, and there's all these new icons for your focus attacks and letting you know the cooldown on that. Your orbs are no longer a little random circle. They're part of this bar as well, so nice cleanup.
Yeah. And we're getting buffs that are granted via talents. They have been reworked. They now also appear underneath you, underneath your health and resource bars, to the right of the fountain icon. So say, for example, you've got Seasoned Marksman or Focused Attack that's going to be indicated under there. And if they have stacks, the number of stacks will also be indicated under there. If you haven't played on the PTR, believe me when I tell you, this is such a nice quality of life change.
Right. It's important information to know
Yeah.
what your stacks are at, but also if Focused Attacks or another similar thing is ready to go, particularly when you get into those things like Tassidar's cooldown on his if he almost died, he becomes invincible thing. I like knowing if that's ready or not. Same for Uther's Redemption, which everybody picks.
Loading screens have been switched up. I never thought I would be looking through a long list of patch notes, Kyle, and go, a loading screens note. This seems interesting, but it is. The loading screens, as you load in now, they now display all 10 players on each team on the left and right sides of it, and it includes their name, it includes their portrait border, and their loading progress, so we can now judge everyone that doesn't have an SSD. Mm-hmm. I'm so glad I recently got a bigger one and put heroes on it.
I don't think it'll be a point of contention if the rest of your computer is A-okay. But yes, you can tell who's holding you up.
Yeah, and it also shows their selected hero for the game, which is funny.
Right.
Which is funny, especially in the PTR, because, as we'll talk about later, Artanis, for a while there, was showing up if you picked random. So you'd be loading in and you see a bunch of random dudes. Like, you wouldn't know who they were until you loaded into the game.
That sweet random bonus, like StarCraft. Wait, no, you just hit tab when you're in the game. Never mind. But it is cool to start, the strategy up while you're all waiting to load in.
Yeah. Yeah. Replays. This is another thing I'm super freaking excited about. There's now a Watch with Others button being added to the Watch tab. It'll allow multiple players to view replays together.
Yes. This makes things a lot easier for me. I do a lot of coaching these days. Check it out at kyleferguson.com. But I have to get a little creative using Skype screen share, using XSplit to pipe in what I'm watching so other people can view it. Now we can just all get in the same thing together.
Yeah. It's great. And this is also something like content creators are going to get way more excited about, I think, than, your weekend warrior.
Well, and teams, because you'll be able to review these all together without getting too fancy in the background, having any extra programs running. There's some neat tools to it. I mean, the pings work for all observers, so you can at least let people know where you're looking. I would love to see this extended, of course, into coaching features, like being able to draw on the map for your fellow teammates watching, or be an observer in that coaching role and be able to draw for someone who's playing the game live.
Were those, that type of functionality, was that ever added in with aftermarket UI modifications in StarCraft 2? The being able to draw on the map?
You could ping for the enemy, that's
not the same.
Right, there wasn't anything like that. Dota has coaching features that are really nice.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, because as nice as that would be, I don't see that coming down the pipe anytime soon, but...
No, it's a bit of an extraneous feature.
Yeah. Moving on to the design and gameplay changes, some of the more interesting ones is that regeneration globes will now no longer heal Dragon Knights and Garden Terrors. Instead, the effect of regeneration globes will now be applied directly to the hero inside the Dragon Knight or Garden Terror. Sounds to me like how it should have always worked.
Sweet.
And as we've said on the show before, when we go, why isn't this a thing yet? That usually means that it's probably a good idea.
Man, inside the Garden Terror, I really wish this was animated. I wish, we just had like Rexar's face sticking out of there, Admiral Keyes style.
It's Captain Keyes, sir.
Well, he got demoted.
He's captain.
Or promoted. I don't know my military very well.
I want to say that's a promotion that you gave him, but I could be wrong. We are now going to get an email.
Yep. Hi, military listeners. Sorry.
I don't know if you've looked at us recently, but we're not exactly the military type.
No.
bring shame upon my long line of military family. Also, players within a Dragon Knight or Garden Terror can now also accumulate stacks for talents such as Seasoned Marksman, Gathering Power, Regeneration Matter, and so on and so forth. Again, should have always worked this way, in my opinion. You shouldn't be punished for, leading the charge for the team in whatever the giant monstrosity is that you need to pilot for the Battleground.
Holy heck, though. Seasoned Marksman? So if I lay down a big old potted plant and take out a huge lane of minions, I'm going to get some stacks.
I am so okay with this.
It's a bit late game, sure.
Right.
So maybe it's okay to lay it on.
I'm also really okay with it, Kyle, because I'm still getting in games where people don't go and defend things. And it just drives me insane. So, you know what? If it makes an assassin piloting a Garden Terror even scarier because they're going to get a bunch of crazy Seasoned Marksman stacks, so be it. Please do whatever you need to teach people to defend things in this game.
But Blizzard disagrees with you. They're taking away some of the defensive power of the Garden Terror.
They are. And if I just want to jump ahead to that, Battleground changes, the Overgrowth is getting quite a few changes. It now also disables the enemy core, which it previously did not. If you dropped your giant potted plant of doom and destruction, or I just call it Seymour from, Little Shop of Horrors, it used to not disable the core, but now it will. Its health now also increases the longer that the game goes, so it'll be even harder to kill an Overgrowth, which just makes it super scary for a terror coming at your core. And the devs said specifically that they didn't want late game terrors being used to defend other terrors, that they want to encourage more offensive play. And I think being like, hey, you can literally stop the core from shooting, that's going to encourage some offensive terror play.
Right, you'll definitely feel like you're wasting your terror by defending. They haven't made it any weaker, though, which I like.
Right. Absolutely. I'm good. And anything that gets me out of a Garden of Terror Battleground faster makes me happy.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, it's okay. We're generally positive people about this game. I'm okay taking a jab at it every now and then.
Sounds good.
I'm so over Garden of Terror.
Of all the maps, it does feel like it's been in the rotation the longest, even though it was one of the newer maps.
It was the first new map.
Yeah.
But whatever the case. I was so stoked for it too first. Remember when it was data mine and we're like, oh my god, it's Plants vs. Zombies, but like not at all. Not even close.
Well, and I expected everyone to be like hiding behind their walls and all the terrorists to be like zombieing up to the walls, and we had to like play a defense game.
Nope. No. You just go into a garden and beat the crap out of each other. It's like a significant... Actually, you know what? It's a significantly more interesting ending to The Shining. That's what it is.
Wait. The Shining?
There's a giant hedge maze garden scene at the end of The Shining.
Are you saying The Shining isn't an interesting movie?
No, I love it, but imagine how much more interesting the ending would have been if the hedge came alive and started attacking everyone.
Oh, sure, yeah. You know what I do? Let's just work in some clips of Harry Potter's hedge maze into The Shining, and we'll just jazz it up.
I like watching that because it's pretty much like watching Twilight get murdered.
And the ending is a little disappointing for those who, may watch a lot of modern horror films, but hey, I like working on my frozen face.
I do too. Ah, man, The Shining's amazing. Anyways, getting off topic. Battlefield of Eternity is the Immortal is getting a change. The basic attack damage of the Immortal scales more per minute now after the 11-minute mark, and even more drastically after the 16-minute mark. The developers said that they were seeing games go a little long on Battlefield of Eternity because the Immortals just did not scale high enough in the late game. So... There are exact numbers, by the way. I just don't feel like reading exact numbers. So if you want to see the exact math behind all this, go check out the official patch notes on heroesofthestorm.com.
Not thrilling radio, but definitely a bit of a buff over time, and it'll help out because these things can be easy to defend with the right comp.
Yeah.
And just lead to stalemates that should otherwise fail.
Yeah. Infernal Shrines, the Punisher, is its starting and scaling health has been decreased by a full 10%. So the Punisher is getting nerfed, and it also will now leap to the nearest enemy hero within range rather than selecting one at random. That makes me a little less excited. I liked that it was kind of randomized, but this definitely gamifies it more. You'll be able to actually... I don't know, skillfully react to the Punisher and try and bait it over a wall on purpose.
Right, they're making this clearer to players. This is how it currently works. It jumps to a random person within range. So what do? You put your tank out in front into the range, and you know exactly who it's going to jump to. It's not that difficult to do. But now it's 100% clear. You can really, and everyone should know it, put your tank out front and make sure he gets the initial jump.
Yep. The Skeletal Defenders, which we now finally have an official name for the skeletons that pop out of the shrines. They're getting some changes as well. The amount of defenders required to summon a Punisher has been increased by 10. So it used to be 30, it is now 40. You're going to need to kill 40 skeletons to summon yourself a Punisher. They also will no longer take increased damage from abilities and talents that deal bonus damage to minions. This is a huge change that needed to be made.
Right. For some reason, we hadn't made that switch yet, and Johanna was still walking up in there and destroying everything.
Not just Johanna, Leoric too.
Right. I'm a little biased.
Yeah, you think?
Let me have my remaining 5 days, Garrett.
I think you're still going to be totally fine, and I don't think Johanna is. So, anyway,
More on that later.
More on that later. Yeah, you get a little rage in there, a little salt, a little pepper.
Rage teaser.
Pepper in that salt, and also the range at which defenders will detect and attack players have been increased by 25%. Dev said that they agree with the feedback that was saying that falling behind on shrines is overly punishing, and that, quote, teams that successfully bait the Punishers deep within their base will be able to put an end to this threat sooner. Cool. I love seeing evidence of player feedback bringing upon change in the game.
Yep. Because I'm sure it's all math on their end. Blizzard doesn't have time to put together teams and really play test. I bet they just throw it in a computer and it works out and they post it. It's so awesome that we have people like Dustin Browder's Twitter being so active and the community at Blizzard to get these things actually fixed for us rather speedily.
Yeah.
And that's to say, like, numerical fixes like this. Balance is its own thing. Your MMR problems at home, those are algorithms beyond our understanding, and I'm sure those things aren't easy to fix either.
No. Finally, under Battleground, Sky Temple is getting a change. Events in which all 3 temples activate simultaneously will no longer occur.
Good.
Devs said that the all 3 temple events almost always meant that the team that was ahead at that point could secure the most temples, while the team that was behind did not really have a defensive option. And I agree. How many?
It was cool to have those games though, where all 3 popped up and you just said "kill them all" in chat, and that was the strategy because you had to kill every single one of them to win at that moment.
Yeah, which I did kind of like. I did, but a lot of times it just didn't work and you lost anyway.
Right, it's the same sort of unfun mechanic like in rage timers on a WoW boss. It's cool for tension, but really, if for no real reason other than that it's been 10 minutes, some giant starts wailing on everybody's butts, it's not fun.
Yeah. And to really, I just, to spend probably more time on this than it deserves, to hammer this point home, if you don't understand just how defeating 3 temples popping up can be in this game, I have never seen Kyle Ferguson say, well, this game is over before it's actually over, except in cases on Sky Temple when all 3 temples would be up.
Right, and we were trapped inside our own base.
Yeah.
I try my darndest to not be defeatist, ever.
No. Yeah, you are the most relentlessly positive gamer I know, and even you can have times on Sky Temple where you just throw up your arms and go, yeah, next game, please.
Yep.
Next game, and please don't let it be Garden Tear.
Thank goodness they don't have to shop. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
Right, good job, team. We got all 3 temples. The core's left, but let's go grab some items.
Let's go build a rapier.
Yeah, how about that?
Let's do it.
And then Nova dies with the rapier, and the enemy gets it. And
And then
the game continues for another 40 minutes.
And then it's a reverse sweep. It's beautiful. God.
But Nova buys back, and never mind. If you don't follow Dota, that was all lost.
That was all very lost on you. But just look up Dota 2 and Rapier and the store. Anyways, let's talk about these hero changes, Kyle. You got your gloves on because we're going in deep. That was bad. Why'd I say that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's even worse because we're starting with the Butcher. Savage Charge is getting changed up, specifically the Ruthless Onslaught talent. That modifies it. It now does much more consistent damage. It used to be that the bonus damage was based on the target's current health. It is now based on the target's maximum health.
Good. Cool.
Yeah. Zeratul. A lot of people were waiting to hear about this. His basic attack damage just got nerfed. Not by much, just barely. It's just the scaling on it, literally by 1 point per level. The wormhole talent for Blink, which is the talent that allows him to blink back to where he blunk from. That's right. I don't care if it's not a word.
I like it.
It's had its reactivation time reduced by a whole second. Kyle, I successfully called something.
Yeah, nice job.
I totally called this last week. I totally called this last week. I'm so proud of myself. I never successfully predict changes in games. It's only 1 second. It's from 3 seconds to 2 seconds. But when you only got 3 seconds to begin with, that's a lot.
Well, and it is a big deal because you're taking a whole second off that. If you have a second-long attack animation, like Zeratul does, there's a couple of point numbers in there, but every second he gets on attack, that's one less auto attack. Basically, every stun in the game is either 1 second or 1.25 seconds. So he dives in, Uther smacks him, most likely something else is going to happen to him, and there's no way he's getting out of that.
Right. It used to be that you could blink in, you could get stunned, you could get unstunned, and then blink out. Now there's going to be such a tiny window. There's going to be so little room. There's going to be such a tiny margin for error that if you get stunned after you blink, chances are you're just not going to be able to wormhole back out and you'll be dead because your blink is now on cooldown. And
this is a big deal when we combine it with the Void Prison change.
Yes. Its casting radius or casting range has been reduced by 50%. It has been halved. It is minuscule. It is tiny.
Which I like. It's a melee hero, so let's get his abilities a little closer to home.
I agree. If you're playing a character like this that has such high burst damage, it should be risky to play him, and it really isn't. It is ridiculous how hard it currently is to kill a Zeratul that knows what they're doing.
And I'm hoping that this range decrease means we still see Wormhole to close that distance, to get it off, and if it doesn't go well, they can safely get out and use it in safe situations rather than offensively, which is what makes us feel like we don't have any power in the situation, is that amazing Zeratul. Blinks you up, spins, attack, blinks out. Are you dead? Probably. If you live, he's gone, and there's no chance to retaliate.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about those changes. I like playing Zeratul, but I agree with these. He's very strong and something needed to be done. And we were talking last week about how the hell do you tweak Void Prison, and I'm surprised we didn't come to the conclusion, oh wait, why don't you just make the cast range shorter?
Right. One of the things I was considering last week until these were posted on Friday was that you could make the area effect smaller. But that's actually kind of powerful. Then you could select even fewer targets or more select targets rather than it is now. It's a little clumsy. It's a bit big. People end up in there accidentally all the time, and that's probably good for it.
Yeah. On to some specialists. Well, just one, actually. We're going to talk about Nazebo. Corpse Spiders kind of getting nerfed across the board, including talents.
Yeah, not huge. In fact, we're pulling some gas price level rules here with moving his damage down from 10 to 9.5, but we don't do points of damage. It's just so that over levels, these points add up together to whole numbers. So still a nerf, but it's a 0.5 damage nerf.
Yes.
But the talent is big. Leaping Spiders, this is the one that everyone takes, is going down by 10%. It decreases the bonus damage from 25 to 15%. This is the one that gives you the Leaping Spiders with that extra damage. I would say because of this choice alone, you're still going to be making plenty of spider builds. But there are situations where you want to try out some new stuff. And there's cool stuff in there. A lot of you Nazebos, I'm watching you. Late game, you guys are full of mana, 24/7, waiting for your cooldowns. Try out that level 7 stuff. Fresh Corpses, throw that together with a Dead Rush. Maybe even grab that Hardened Focus instead of Leaping Spiders at level 16. If you're above 80% health, your basic abilities regenerate 50% faster. It is incredible when you're ahead, when you're not taking damage, all these sort of caveats.
Yeah. And then also, Ravenous Spirit apparently got a better prescription on its lenses. The vision radius granted by it has been increased by approximately 66%.
Cool.
Let's talk about some of the support heroes. Tassadar, this is a big one we're going to want to talk about. It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to sum it up easily. Plasma Shield got some changes. The shield amount has been decreased, but the shield, that's its base thing. If it's cast on a hero, the shield amount is increased by 50%. So if you're casting on a hero, overall, it actually shields them for more than it used to.
Right. Now, you can still talent into it, affecting lane minions and mercenaries and that sort of thing. Not like you'd want to.
Right.
But and on top of that, the mana cost is reduced by 10. The cooldown is reduced from 8 to 5.
Yeah. That's a
Legion
lot.
Plasma, one of the main talents that Tassadar was picked for in the first place in those Illidan Butcher combos. Basic attacks return health for 20% of the damage dealt. Now that's up to 30%.
Yeah. Evasive shielding, movement speed, bonus duration has been increased only by 1 second. It's a minor thing. But then Archon got its damage nerfed pretty significantly.
Yeah, and it's upsetting because it's really the best and most fun talent that Tassadar has. Force Wall doesn't always work out well because of enemy comps that might have blinks, or the map might be too big in many cases, like Tomb of the Spider Queen might be too large in some of the areas to actually pull off a Force Wall. Plus, without that increased range and wasting your level 20 talent to get it, you have to sometimes really get in the thick of things. But I understand the Archon change 100% because Tassadar, in his Archon form, when he is stimmed by Morales, is one of the most insane things on Earth still. And we are going into a world, Morales is going to inch us into a land where we're going to start seeing more bloodlusts, more auto-attack builds, and it's going to be a scary place. And they didn't want a support character being the person who was targeted by those things.
I'm glad you bring up support, Kyle.
Oh?
Do you think he's a support character yet? Because I see all of this and it still just looks tone deaf to me.
You know, when you can take that level 7 talent that leaves you with 50% of the shields on you, and then 30% of their auto attacks are turning into health. I actually out-healed a Lily and a Morales on the PTR. That is to say that I out-healed people with no MMR in a game that was entirely wacky. But it was still something.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Could be.
Okay. All right. I wish I could say that I teed you up for that, but I didn't. I read this and I'm just like, he still doesn't sound like a support. Damn it, what's wrong with you people? And I'm glad you were there to hit me with the counterpoint.
I think that Tassadar is going to be a great plug-in to protect Morales, and that could easily become a comp. And I think the Tyrande Tassadar combo could actually pull together to be the damage full support that you need, that we always hoped those two could combine together and become.
Cool. Very cool. I hope that's the case. I want to see Tassadar get more love. He is such a cool hero. I just always felt like he was...
His skin, he looks awesome now. They got sort of it used to just be kind of a plain yellow that just looked like plastic. Now his armor just looks kind of golden, Armada style, clearly upped. Legacy of the Void music is playing in the background. Just, I'm geeking out.
Do you pregame before you play a game as Tassadar? Do you put the music on really loud and dim the lights and just put your head down and listen for a bit? Get pumped up.
Yeah, get my Protoss ready.
That's great. Let's talk about the sport that I'm the most interested in, Tyrande. I also these are the two week in and week out you hear me say should not be considered supports. And she got a rather substantial change to her other heroic. And I feel like I could say that and everyone already knows what I'm talking about because all Tyrandes take Starfall. There is, however, another heroic called Shadowstalk, and it has been changed up. It no longer reveals enemies, which disappoints me, but it's okay, I think, because instead, allied heroes are now healed over 8 seconds and then receive a large burst of healing when Shadowstock expires. Now, the important thing here is when it expires, not when whoever has Shadowstock applied to them has the stealth broken.
Right.
But this is actually a significant amount of healing. It's a small heal over time that just continues to go for 8 seconds after you smack down the R and put everyone in Shadowstock. And then at the end of it, they get a little burst. And it's substantial. It really is. And throwing in your small Tyrande heals supplementary on top of this, you can save some bacon.
Yeah, I'm guessing the strategy of this is going to be let's gank. Everyone get together. Cool. Shadowstock, that little bit of healing tops us off at the 4-second mark. At the 6-second mark, we get into the fight. The blizzards come down. The Kael'thas bombs go off from the enemy team. And then that big heal hits, and you sweep them. Ideally. And that's going to take a lot of coordination.
Now, the big heal at the end is actually not that big. I was noticing in games I was playing on PTR, again, they were super wacky. The compositions made no sense, and I was never without a Lieutenant Morales. No matter how hard I tried, I could not attempt a game as a solo healer on Tyrande. But to me, I was noticing it seemed like it made the most sense whenever we got caught in some AoE. When multiple heroes got hit, just pop it, and it heals them all up. It felt real nice.
Right. The heal over time really isn't much bigger than grabbing yourself a health orb. And the heal that goes off at the end of the 8 seconds is really no bigger than Tyrande using her heal on you. But that is hitting everyone on the team. Those are some big numbers when you spread them all out like that.
Absolutely. So, I always hammer on, if you're going to mark yourself as mark a hero as a support, they should be able to solo support. And I don't know if Tyrande is there. She's definitely, it feels like she's really close if she's not, and that might just be good enough.
Right.
We'll have to experiment with some builds. And I personally, this is the hero I'm the most excited to play with once this patch goes live. Because like I was saying, it was kind of hard to really get a feel for how she's going to work in a solo healing situation on the PTR where the new hero, the new shiny, was a support hero.
Tassadar is going to be in a better place in quick match for sure because he didn't really shine in our last championships 2 weekends ago. So I feel like he's going to have a better place. His win rate will go up in quick match. Tyrande is still being played by a lot of people who are excited about what they saw during that event, and she may continue to suffer. But I think she can absolutely carry her own in quick match now.
Yeah. I loved Dan Newman in the chat room, who's clearly getting real personal, saying, so the Sylvanas whacking on a tower, ignoring the plague, she gets a heal too? Yes, Dan, she gets a heal too.
All the way across the map. Or she could have taken advantage of the invisibility and stopped auto-attacking, and she wouldn't have gotten ganked by that guy coming out of the wall.
Exactly.
Let's get real here. That's what actually happened.
Let's talk about Warriors. Chen. I'm just going to sum this up saying, go read Chen. He got a ton of changes.
Right. The cool thing is that there is now a level 1 alternative to picking your regeneration master, because right now all those talents never get picked ever. Mm-hmm. Now there will be a level 1 talent that reduces incoming ability damage by 25% while you are drinking. And granted, most abilities that are going to income on you while you're drinking are going to be stuns. And reducing that damage is a decent deal. There's a couple maps out there where you can't really get enough regeneration orbs to make it worth your while. I'm thinking of, Haunted Mines and sometimes Battlefield of Eternity. Always a bit of a gamble, because if you can win that Immortal, 2 drop for you. But taking that new level 1 ability could actually be a chance. Otherwise, everything else kind of got increased. We have more slow duration on the keg smash, a more responsive flying kick. The brew cost has been removed on Earth or Storm, Earth, and Fire and Wandering Keg, so you no longer have to worry about getting in that quick second drink before you hit your emergency survive button. But all those cooldowns are still the same. Storm, Earth, and Fire is still 100 seconds, which seems absolutely insane when we put up against something like Phoenix at 50.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I still think Chen is a really strong warrior when played correctly.
Right, but what we need is warriors that can cut off slices of the enemy team. If your team is already ready with Kael'thas's and, Uthers and something else in there for a bit of stun, Chen is going to be an awesome warrior. But you're not stealing a draft from the enemy team, most likely. And you aren't going to have your warrior with the stuns, and he loses some control over the flow of battle. And ultimately, it's the warrior's job to decide when fights happen and when they end.
Yeah.
Chen can't stun. He also doesn't have any mana, so it's really hard for Chen to understand that all his spellcasters have no mana left, and he's still going.
Yeah. Let's talk about Diablo and see if we can't incite maybe a little Kyle Salt.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
So Shadow Charge got a lot of love. It got a sizable range increase. It got a stun duration increase. The devastating charge talent for Shadow Charge was also buffed, as well as the overpower talent domination, which directly influences Shadow Charge because it cuts the cooldown of Shadow Charge. Now it cuts it down by a full 10 seconds. So there's all this emphasis on charging Diablo, on kind of setting him up to be the gank warrior.
Yeah, and Blizzard said that, and that was an interesting concept to me. I absolutely agree with what they said about ETC. They want him to be the disruption warrior. That gives him a ton of personality. Diablo has to be mounted up, but he can, run out of a bush, grab a dude, and completely swing a fight by deleting a guy, pushing them into the enemy team. Yeah. So we'll see, is how I've got to settle this. I'm concerned because Black Soulstone, the trait, still seems underwhelming when compared to things like Leoric, rezzing all the way back in your base while Leoric's rezzing out on the field. It doesn't really compare. Black Soulstone's got that buff to increase our overall health again, but, we still have problems with Giant Killer. And I'm not saying Giant Killer shouldn't be a counter to high health targets. I think Giant Killer should be in the game, but we need some sort of damage mitigation for Diablo.
I agree with you.
And one of the biggest problems with Diablo right now is he can't help out. He can't aid the healer in getting himself topped off. If you're with the Morales, you're going to spend your entire mana pool getting a Diablo back from a fourth.
Yeah. It's a lot of healing to be done. And it's a compound issue, right? Because Giant Killer's bad against Diablo because all he has to work on is with his health, and since all he has to really work on with his health is that he doesn't have any damage mitigations, making the healers have to work harder. I don't know. It just feels like he's always working from behind in every aspect.
Right, but you have that perfect team where you're picking up and you're slamming and you feel like a badass, and it's a great tone that they have for the character. I love the WWE feel. And I'm going to continue to play him. I love giant, healthful heroes that just keep on stomping. That's the fantasy I want to play as.
I agree. I don't think these changes are going to be enough for him. And I'd like to see him return to Hero League.
Right. And that ultimately comes down to, can he be a counter pick? Can I take him away from the enemy team? And Diablo is very situational. Mm-hmm. The damage on his Fire Stomp is a big deal, because Fire Stomp really suffers from a lot of problems. There's not enough damage to actually cause people to run away. You can't really lane clear until you've invested probably 2 talents into it. And that's a very heavy investment. Imagine taking one of your other warriors, imagine you're Johanna, and you dump 2 talents into one of her attacks instead of a tank build, and how much power you lose there.
Yeah. ETC got some changes as well. He received a minor base health and scaling increase, but more interesting is that Power Slide now stuns for slightly longer, and Face Melt and Guitar Solo were both buffed across the board, including some of their talents.
Yes, and he is definitely the disruption warrior they want him to be. I'm glad they increased the stun. Not because I want to be stunned, but Misha's stun was 1.25, and it kind of left ETC feeling a little underpowered in the face of that.
Yeah. Yeah. He feels better. It's just strange. Like I'm trying to imagine a world where I still pick him over a Johanna or a Leoric.
Right. So Johanna has a lot of synergy with her current wizard build because she pulls people inward. Mm-hmm. And Leoric's very easy for your friendly assassins because he never actually displaces anything. Maybe I'll slow someone too much and Tyrande misses, but Tyrande always misses her stun. It's not a big deal. Whereas ETC constantly ruins a lot of people's best laid plans. Sometimes he dives in right in the middle where that blizzard was and pushes everybody outside of it.
Yeah.
So what we really need is ETC to be picked against certain comps, and I feel like that's what they'll have here. Nazebo's going that Ravenous Spirit, anything you have to move be locational and interrupt is going to be an ETC style game.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I'm liking the changes a lot. I'd like to see ETC come back. I really just want to see more than a 2-warrior meta, for the most part. I mean, Muradin's in a good place. He's definitely a solid third pick, but it's still, man, it's a lot of Johanna. It's a lot of
By
Leoric.
2-warrior meta, you mean that we have 2 warriors to pick from, not because we certainly have more than enough warriors per team right now.
Oh, right, you're right. No, I meant we're like, it's basically I'm seeing the same 2 Darren warriors every game I play.
Right, exactly. And
although the other night I was feeling frisky in Hero League, and I was like, you know what, Arthas, and we won, and it felt good.
He's high damage.
I solo tanked as Arthas, and we won. I was so happy.
Awesome.
And I was off to a terrible start. I was getting scolded by people. It was rough.
I've been doing quite a bit of solo tanking on Rexar recently, mainly on Blackheart's Bay because, well, it's a mercenary map, and he's amazing at it. But it's been working well for me, and I have to face some trolls when I do that pick, but
yeah,
it's good.
Johanna getting some changes. Knight takes pawn, the talent for Condemn that it's basically just a permanent thing for Condemn because I don't think anyone else takes a different level 1 talent for Johanna at the moment. But the damage bonus against minions and mercenaries has been decreased from 400 to 300%. The stun duration against minions and mercenaries has been decreased from 4 to 3 seconds. So we saw this coming a mile away. Dustin Browder made a lot of comments about how the wave clear was probably too strong for Johanna, probably too strong for Leoric, and that they were going to be making some changes about that. So here it is. Don't disagree with this at all.
I'm surprised they kept it a level 1 talent. I think this is going to be a nerf, most certainly. Regular Johanna players are going to feel it. From the opposite end, if you're fighting in that lane against the solo Johanna, you probably won't notice much. She's still going to be pulling everyone in, stunning them for 3 seconds, really long time, bonus damage, everything. She'll still be a solo laner in the early game.
Yeah. Now, the change that I did not see coming. Blessed Shield. The stun duration has been decreased from 2 to 1.5 seconds for the first target struck and decreased from 1 to 0.75 seconds for additional targets struck. And the level 20 talent for Blessed Shield no longer increases its range. And now it brings the stun duration back to where it was, which just feels so bad. So I didn't see this coming. I'm not sure why this is a thing. I get it. I read the devs' comments. I disagree.
But what do you disagree about? I mean, you definitely play a ton more Johanna than I do.
I guess I disagree in reference to the Leoric changes we're about to talk about, which is to say there are almost none. Leoric, I think, is still objectively the best warrior in the game. He is objectively better than Johanna. His trait is insane. It's one of the most powerful things in the game. And it wasn't even touched.
I think all these Blessed Shield changes are mainly to encourage us to use the other one.
I'm glad
I don't know the name of because it's just the other one.
I'm glad you said that. To which I counter with, why not make that talent actually good, actually useful, actually something I want to pick, instead of making a talent that is good and useful bad, or worse than it was.
Right, Falling Sword.
Falling Sword.
Falling Sword's great in Diablo 3, where I have a bunch of items that augment it to have the abilities of other abilities.
Yes. It's one of my favorite abilities in Diablo 3. I love Falling Sword.
But Johanna, unlike Illidan, very rarely needs to teleport to a nearby location and do damage.
That's also very true.
So, Blessed Shield, onward forever, it's just not going to be as good.
Right. It's still going to be fine. It's just that I'm surprised that we saw that getting tweaked and changed. And onward to Leoric, I might as well say what's up with him. Skeletal Swing, basically, just got a significant nerf to its damage. It's not insignificant. It went from 100 plus 10 per level to 85 plus 8.5 per level. So that's a decent chunk of damage taken away. But
right, for those of you that have seen me demonstrating this, you walk in lane, you swing, you do 1 or 2 auto attacks on that wizard. He pops out the orb, you grab it, and you move on with your life with your trait much, much better forever and ever. Now it's going to take you either 2 full swings or an extra 2 auto attacks to get that wizard down. Mostly it's an 8-second cooldown, so you'll just be doing 1 big swing, walking around for 8 seconds, and then clear the lane with your second big swing.
Yeah. Now, I still think Leoric's going to be the top pick after this
Sure.
patch. You?
Oh, yeah, no, he's not going anywhere. We're going to have to all adjust, us Leorics, to this new sort of slower laning phase. We're not going to be on our way to the tribute, dismount, swing the whole lane dead, and then mount up again and go rejoin our friends with another bar of XP.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really, the most important change that happened to Leorics, I think we can all agree, is that they removed a bug where everyone would tell you to drink from a fountain while you were dead. It was maddening. I'm a ghost. I have no health. And everyone was like, Lily was like, snapping at, hey, you should drink from a fountain. Drink from a fountain while you're still. And then Vala, you are injured. That's the worst one of them all.
Oh, man.
We are now free of that burden.
Yeah. Yeah. Rexar getting some changes. Dev said that they received a lot of positive and negative feedback from Misha's controls, and that the new ability Misha Fixate has been added to offer a little more control options. So you've got a new ability for controlling Misha called Misha Fixate. It has 2 functions depending on the target. If it's used on an enemy, Misha will move to attack the target until the target dies, until a new order is issued, until Misha leashes, which is reaches the max distance that she can be away from Rexar, or until Misha dies.
And this is really cool. By the way, everyone, you can go into your options and you can make your own builds for each hero, how you want them laid out on your keyboard. So I went in and made it WoW style. I always used F for my pets to make them attack. And so I switched that button over there.
Oh.
And this key is rather incredible. The main example I can think of that I used it for was that we were all taking a boss, and I was soloing it on Rexar, and then the rest of my team showed up, so I didn't need Misha to tank. So I used Fixate to select the ground around the corner so I could see around the tree line, and I was able to stun incoming heroes as they moved in on our boss.
Wow.
And you can lever places. The Fixate's great because you can use this key to lock onto a certain hero, and regardless of what you do in the background, until you whistle as Rexar, she will continue to attack that one hero. She no longer gets so confused in the mess as you, Rexar, change targets. Because frankly, I want my Misha wailing on, the enemy squishy. And Rexar may have to auto-attack a random tank in his face because that's what's in range.
Because positioning. Right. This is great. And definitely, I think, how Misha should have functioned from the beginning, which is a good thing. Whatever. It was quick turnaround on adding this to the game. We're probably we're going to see this Tuesday, hopefully. So, I like this. This gets me super interested in trying Rexar now, because I have avoided him like the plague.
He's fun. I can't suggest him enough on Blackheart's Bay.
Cool.
Amazing solo warrior that can still merc.
All for it. I'm all for it. May have to have you coach me with some Rexar.
Yeah, let's do it. Though we did get a little bit of a hurt to that mercenary build. The Bird of Prey talent, which was the go-to talent for everybody, was decreased by 100%. Your Bird of Prey, your Spirit Swoop, will only do 200% damage against non-heroic targets instead of 300%.
Yeah. Let's talk some Stitches, who also received a sizable overhaul. This is the version of Stitches that Heroes Dev have alluded to in the past, where they were trying to make him the anti-mage warrior. And I'm still not sure. Again, like looking at it on paper, it looks like they're going to achieve it. PTR has been crazy. I'm not sure if it's achieving it or not. There was a Stitches, I feel like, in every single PTR game I played.
There was, and we saw a lot of master skins because there's been a ton of people waiting in the sidelines, previous Stitches lovers, who are now excited to get this in. His level 1 talent that's being added, among a ton being removed, almost all the general talents, Block, Regeneration Master, Imposing Presence, Stone Skin, that was actually added at level 16, but the new level 1 talent, Dampen Magic, every 8 seconds reduce incoming ability damage by 50%. 2 charges on that. Is a pretty big deal to make him the anti-wizard tank. And it's a role open for him.
Yeah. Yeah. He also got, Regeneration Master is gone. He also got a new level 1 talent called Hungry for More, which he also gets augmented by collecting regeneration globes. But instead of affecting his health regeneration, it just gives him 30 more maximum health.
Right. And this really works into the fact that Devour has become a very usable ability again. When you talent into it, you are going to have a significant ability to heal yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you excited? Is this going to get you to finally kind of try out Stitches? I feel like, is Stitches one of the heroes you just never played? Because I've never seen you play Stitches.
Right. Coming from other MOBAs, I've never been into hook pooly kind of guys, mainly because they just always get picked, and I know how to counter them, and I know how to work with them. I don't feel like I need to pick them to avoid them in a strategical sense.
Gotcha. Because you feel like there's enough of them out there in the world already that there's enough players that want to fill that role, and you're just uninterested in piloting.
Exactly. It's like the Leoric Johanna situation. I find Johanna boring, but I need Leoric because I got to have one of those two. So I end up filling that out other ways. So guys, if you weren't part of the alpha or the early beta, the whole game is about to be thrown on its head for y'all. Let me just suggest that you always walk in slight curves. Never walk in straight lines because the hook will get you. Always walk in a slight curve. Very useful against Tyrandas, Kerrigans as well. Run sideways. Don't always run backwards.
Serpentine!
Unless you're going to serpentine so fast you put yourself right where you were 2 seconds ago and the hook still gets you.
Exactly.
But yes.
I got them. It was nice getting to dodge some mad Stitches hooks. Or in that one game that you and I played, not dodging some nice Stitches hooks.
No, taking them full to the face and exploding.
Yeah.
But you know what? Stitches versus 3 supports we had in that game may have not been the best spec anyway.
What are you talking about? We totally could have won that. Oh my god, that game. Oh, jeez.
Before we move on, he's got a really cool talent now. Helping Hands reduces Hook's cooldown by 8 seconds when pulling an ally. Could be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So we didn't go too deep into Artanis, and I'm still hesitant to go pretty deep into him. We already talked a lot about heroes, detailed a lot of heroes pretty deeply, but he was playable sort of kind of this week. If you picked random, you had a chance that you might get Artanis. That eventually was patched out of the PTR, but some people did get a chance to play him, and also his whole, his talents, his abilities, they've all been data mined. We'll go into those in deeper detail as it gets closer to the Artanis release. But overall, Kyle, what did you think of the kind of impromptu preview we got of Artanis?
Not only did people have to random, they also had to have purchased or pre-ordered Legacy of the Void, and it somehow flagged their account to be Artanis ready. So it was a bizarre happenstance, and of course you were randoming with how many characters now for a chance at Artanis. But videos were made, and I got to watch quite a few of them. I am blown away by his E ability, Phase Prism, which fires out a skill shot in front of you, and when it hits a hero, you swap positions. That talent is a basic ability, and on so many other heroes throughout MOBAs, swapping positions is the ultimate.
That's insane. Yeah, I couldn't believe that either. And he, you know what? He looks really zealoty.
Yeah, I agree with everyone saying that Blade Dash is a bit strange. You kind of do this random little dance forward, and then you're brought back to your previous point. Meanwhile, the entire duration, you can be attacked and stunned. So if you think you just want to poke, you just want to go buzz through the enemy team, like a big old blade saw going back and forth, you may get stunned and still be inside the enemy lines, and that would be very bad.
It really, curious to see how that's going to work. He's got his trait is shield based. Kyle, are you happy about that? Can you be satiated as a Protoss fan?
Yes, I am a big fan of this ability. When you go below 50% health, you gain a shield for an amount based on your level and lasts for 5 seconds. Every time you go under 50% health. So I'm excited just for the skill cap on this, right? Like, are people going to be like, oh no, don't heal, don't put me, I'm at 55% health. I want to hit that shield level so that I get X talents I put into my shield.
So you're thinking the Artanis players will be training their healers to let them drop below 50% before hitting them with a heal.
Right. It could happen.
Color me interested. I'm super stoked for Artanis.
Right. The fantasy is there, absolutely. When you hit that W for Twin Blades, he pops them out, looks real cool, Zealot style. I'm just excited for the character in general because of Legacy of the Void.
Dude, I've watched that trailer so many times since.
Yeah, I hear you. And then the new cartoon thing came out, and it made me a little nervous. It made me think that Artanis might spend too much time crying. But I've seen the video where he whips out the blades, and I know he's a warrior in Heroes of the Storm, so I have hope that he's not going to be a pansy and he's going to throw down. I
got the vibe at the very end of that animation that he was ready to throw down.
Right, I think that may have been the extent of his questioning, but he is, High Templar, and he is going to be pissed when he sees Kerrigan, because last time they met, she kind of killed everyone he knew.
Let bygones be bygones, right?
Why not, right? I took your homeworld. No biggie, right? Kill your best friends, and no one cares.
All right. Oh, geez, it's going to be a long show. We're not even done with the news rundown yet. So this is the thing that we were talking about right at the top of the show, the incoming test map, which is now live right now. You can go try this. And it boils down to 3 major things that they're testing out. The first of which is death timers. The developers said that they identified that there may be difficulty in achieving early objectives in the game due to the way death timers currently are and how quickly we come back after we die in the early stages of a game. So to combat that and also make not dying in the early game more important, they've adjusted the death timers for the first 10 levels. So this is so loaded. This brings so many potential effects to the game, all of which I'm pretty much all for. I think it's a good change to the game. What do you think?
Right, let's make that distinction, though, before we get too deep into this. For those who may have not followed StarCraft, the PTR and the test map are 2 very different things. A test map is something that they just throw things wildly, try out completely new things. The PTR is to test upcoming changes that are going to happen. This test map is nothing set in stone.
Right. So, but you still access it through the PTR, correct?
Right. And it looks like it's going to go live inside of Heroes, actually, as a custom game on October 6th. Okay. So you won't even have to switch between the 2 clients.
I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah. And so it sounds like they're going to take some time with this, figure it out, which I'm all for, because these are huge changes. They got to get
as many people to touch this thing as possible, because these are some big changes.
Yeah. like what's your feeling on longer death timers in the first 10 levels?
Right. These things aren't atrocious. We're making baby steps towards longer death timers. So, to give you a basic perspective, anything after level 10 is exactly the same now. If you died at level 11, you're dead for 26 seconds. In the new system, you are still dead for 26 seconds. It's all pre-level 10, which is good because I feel like all that pre-level 10 time needs to be lengthened out, because once everyone hits heroics, the game dynamic changes. And it's nice to have such a distinct early, mid, and late game in any esports competition. So now if you die at level 1, 9 seconds of death. In the new map, we're looking at 15 seconds.
Right. And not quite doubled, but a significant amount.
Right. So when we get into map mechanics, this is going to be pretty huge. We're talking probably some Dragon Knights snuck a bit earlier in. Tribute fights won't be as mad as they are now, or at least there won't be that as big of a chance for something like a Murky to hold everybody off while the rest of the team gets back in and wins it.
Absolutely, because a lot of times it can come down to like a few seconds before you grab the tribute, and the Kael'thas shows up and throws a living bomb. You're like, "Come on, we just killed that guy." But yeah, I'm kind of all for it as well. I'm really anxious to see what its effects on Dragonshire is, because man, those games can go long. At least the first dragon, that it can just be forever before you see one. They're also they're making some changes to prevent snowballing. They said that levels 1 through 14 had a very large stat difference from one level to the next, and that they've identified later levels had less of a stat difference, and power levels are more noticeable with talent picks instead of level games. So they're going to try and mirror that. They're going to try and mirror the late game specifically. So they're going to flatten out the earlier levels to be more in line with how heroes operate towards the late game. They even gave an example. They said the difference between level 17 and 19 is now very similar to the difference between level 7 and 9. This is on the test map. Previously, between 7 and 9, the stat jump was immense. It was very noticeable. Whereas you get into the post 14 game and 15 to 14, or 14 to 15, I might say. I don't know what's wrong with me tonight. Is not all that different. But Kyle,
right, and we've all felt this. We've all been in those games, and think about it for yourself. If you are level 7 and the enemy is level 9, let's not even consider heroics. You're both on the same talent tier. You do not want to engage them. That 2-level difference really, really hurts. But level 17 to 19, it feels like you can still take it.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Right.
And I think this is a very cool concept. I love the idea that your talent picks will matter more than your actual level. It increases the skill cap again.
Right.
But then we combine these thoughts with the real confusion that everyone in the community is feeling tonight at the statements left at the bottom of Snowball Prevention.
Right. They said alongside the overall stat changes, we've taken the additional stats you'd earn from leveling and directly ingrained the numbers straight into the heroes themselves. I have read this 30 times. I still don't know what the hell that means.
Okay, so this is pretty weird, and we're all basically playing forensics officers right now.
All right.
But some tests have been done. So let's take Muradin, for example. His current health on the live game at level 1 is 1,040. And at level 10, his health is 3,200. 2,000 point damage, basically. That's a huge difference between his level 1 Muradin and his level 10 Muradin. Now, in this new test map, Muradin's health starts at about 2,600 and goes up by only 1,100 points. So a level 1 Muradin versus a level 10 Muradin wouldn't be as different as they are today. The real difference is going to be in their actual talent picks and, skill level.
Right. In this blog post that just went up, they even make the distinction that now this is not going to make any change to the fact that it's still very dangerous to make an engagement if you're behind and the opposing team is a talent level up ahead of you. But that's exactly. Still the case. So I'm still slightly confused because they put all this in the way that they write this, they put all this kind of weight on the talents, and we're already in a world where the talents are important. And it's already really dangerous to try and make an engagement when you're a talent behind.
Right, that's why we're focusing on the warriors here, because it's really the simplest. Warriors are going to have more health and better health than assassins, supports, and specialists.
Okay.
But those other classes are going to scale in their own ways. Similar. It's going to be less of a exponential growth over the course of the game, but they will have a certain growth in other areas. Perhaps their mana pool increases faster than other classes might. An assassin's damage increases faster than an other type of hero might. But ultimately, they're doing similar damage over the course of the game.
Okay. Gotcha. So basically with this change, out the gate, you're going to feel like the role that you picked.
Right. So in an ideal world, Rexar is going to be as tanky as Tassadar. They become kind of, part of that support pool, and they feel a bit similar in their health pools and attack damage. Sure, there's going to be differences because one's a melee and one's a range. Those numbers need to be adjusted. But, there are situations where Rexar will hold... Rhaegar, excuse me. Rhaegar will hold a point on Dragonshire forever, and an Uther might not be able to pull that off.
Oh, wait, so just to correct you, if we rewind all the way to the very beginning of the statement, you meant to say Rhaegar and Tassadar?
I meant to say Rhaegar the whole time.
Gotcha.
I said 2 shows ago, everyone give us a free pass for 2 months.
All right. Unfortunately, you lost me, so I'm not giving you a free pass.
Darn it.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to clarify.
Okay, how about this? Kerrigan is going to have a similar health pool to Illidan.
Okay.
And is going to have similar scaling attack damage to Illidan.
All right. I can get behind that.
We'll see how it goes. Right now we're looking at these numbers and we're thinking, oh God, there goes all of Rhaegar's health. I meant Rhaegar's health. Off of a combined single combo attack from Jaina. He's dead.
Okay.
And that's dangerous. It's going to be a very big switch for us all to mentally make. But it could be better for the overall game.
I'm really interested to see how this pans out. Partially because I'm still a little confused. Mostly because it seems like it's some drastic changes to heroes.
Ultimately, it should work along the same lines of any of the stat squish we've experienced in World of Warcraft.
Okay.
Not going to change the game immensely, but make it easier for balancing to come in down the road and make numbers a little less ridiculous. Because right now, if you wanted to adjust an exponentially growing hero, that's a much more difficult process than just tweaking a number somewhere along a normal line graph.
Right.
And that's all we know. We'll have to hit this next week when it makes a bit more sense.
Also, aren't we playing on this map tonight in our after show game?
We are. So we're going to do our very best to infer what the heck is going on.
There will be blood. That's all I know.
Yes, there will be.
That's all I take away from this.
There may be slightly more blood than we expect, or even less blood. We have no idea.
Well, let's cap things off with some light, fun Dustin Bratter tweets before we wrap this show up, Kyle. One person asked Dustin Browder why he answers all of the complaints that they seemed kind of irrelevant and seemed to waste his time. And Dustin Browder said, because people need to know that they have been heard, and because 99% of the people who complain really love the game.
Awesome.
It's a good way to live your life as somebody who has to deal with people like me yelling at you all day.
He's got some thick skin, man, and that's evolved over a long time. I remember the Dustin Browder and StarCraft days. You guys were in that tower looking down, hoping no one threw stones high enough. But I appreciate the new Dustin Browder. I really like this. He's hardened up.
Yeah. He also said that they will not be talking about heroes beyond Artanis and Lieutenant Morales until BlizzCon. So that's all we get for now. We're not getting any new hero previews until BlizzCon, which seems seems like a long break now, right? Because is Artanis going to release before the release of Legacy of the Void?
We are still on a 3 to 4 week release schedule with Artanis, they have said, which puts us on the 27th, right before BlizzCon.
Right. Okay, so he'll be coming out before Legacy's release.
That is correct. So much like, did we get Vala ahead of time? Was Reaper of Souls out? I don't remember. No, that's right. We pre-bought Reaper of Souls and got Vala for some time whenever the game eventually came out, Heroes of the Storm.
That's what it was. Yeah. Reaper of Souls was out before the Heroes Alpha, I think, right?
Yeah, but the way they've made it sound is that they are ready with the next line of heroes. They're just holding them back for BlizzCon announcements.
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't be surprised if they showed one at BlizzCon. They're like, and it's out today. Like, I guess we're going to probably see it on the PTR first, but. So.
Right. If this does stick, and they're saying they're sticking to the 3-4 week rule, we would see that next hero that is going to be announced at BlizzCon come out sometime around the 16th of November.
All right. Cool. Who do you think they're going to be?
Oh, who's next? I have no idea. We got some StarCraft love here. They didn't go as far to make it a StarCraft event, so I wouldn't be surprised to see something. We still have those weird floating around WoW ones, Cho'Gall and that sort of business. I think we need to pump those out before we change expansions.
I agree. Another tweet said, check Hotslogs profiles. After a 5-game win streak, you will get 1 to 2 teammates with much lower MMR and games played. Dustin Browder said that the game does not do that. That is not a rule.
Right, which is important to note. The game is not out to get you. You are not put in a horrible group because you've been winning so much, and Blizzard wants its sweet 50% credit on the back of your name.
Right. And then finally, someone was asking about the Magni skin avatar change. The lore-appropriate diamond form was half the reason it was cool. And Dustin Browder did say will fix. suggesting that the new red avatar mode will be reverted to the original blue diamond one, which it has been.
Yep, it's been fixed. In the PTR, everyone was getting on their skin and realizing that they made it red. As someone who's not familiar with Alliance lore, anyway, I thought it looked really, really sweet as a red skin. But, if he turned into diamonds, as they said, spoiler alert, I don't know.
You can go to Ironforge right now and see him standing there turned into diamonds.
Why'd he turn to diamonds?
I don't know. I don't know the lore behind it. I just know he is. He's not very much of a king at the moment.
He was just like, well, I'm done. Diamonds.
And now I'm realizing I haven't played Alliance in a while, and maybe they changed it with Draenor. Maybe he's back. I don't know.
I remember in Vanilla WoW going into that corner of the throne room and like wiggling against the wall so I could get through it and down into that weird chamber.
Oh, old Ironforge. Yeah. Yeah, that was cool. But yeah, no, this is kind of like semi-hidden again too. You end up in it's cool. If you've never seen it, dude, roll an Alliance soon and go check it out because it's super dope.
Sweet.
Anyways, the email we're going to take is really long.
Right, so I'm going to invite everyone to check out our show notes, but we can't skip over this because Dervish here is Deerhervish?
Let's just say Dervish.
Dervish,
I don't think you're supposed to pronounce that H.
Sounds good.
You're either not pronouncing the H or you're not pronouncing the D. Pick one.
All right, I'm going to go with Dervish here. Dervish made us an amazing email and hand analyzed all the games from the NA Championships in terms of win rates.
Yeah.
And what a feat. He had to review 31 games in total, entering them into Excel in order to get these numbers, but they are awesome. This is an amazing tool for the community to have to look at this previous weekend, and the first thing you will notice is that the meta is not what it seems to be.
No, but also the important thing to remember is this is pro games. These are people playing at the top tier.
Right.
So this is not a reflection of your average Heroes player overall by any means. Not to mention, especially when you look at like Leoric had a 63% win rate and Johanna had a 36% win rate. Like they were in almost every single game and almost always on either side. So one of them was going to lose.
Right, but the fact that they were so low is fascinating when compared to what we at home feel like the meta is.
Right.
And other comps were in fact working out, probably because we're just so darn used to dealing with Johannas and Skeleton Kings that every team showed up prepared to deal with it.
Right, absolutely. And again, if you want to see this in full, there's quite a bit to take a look at. Go to amove.tv/ITN and look for the episode 69 post. If you're watching this live, it's not up yet. Got it on podcast, should be up. Go take a look.
But you'll be happy with this stat, Garrett. Abathur, 2 wins, 7 losses. Did not really work out.
I'm not happy. I'm not happy when a hero isn't working out, Kyle.
No?
No.
You're not excited that this may stem the tide of Abathurs in Quick Match?
No, because this guy sent us an email and it's not like plastered on the front page of heroesofthestorm.com.
We have to make it there.
And again,
it's our job.
And again, this is a tiny sample pool.
Right, but pro games nonetheless. So totally just fascinating information. Muradin, an amazing performer through this whole tournament. Kerrigan also really shining. Raynor doing amazing, 83% win rate there. Tassadar also being picked a lot more than we all expected, as we talked about with Slime last episode. And Zeratul, when he actually got to play, was not entirely OP, though he was banned in 61% of all the games played.
Yeah, he was the most banned by a landslide victory. And well, actually, not by a landslide. Kael'thas was just underneath him with 18 games banned.
Yeah.
The one I was most confused by was underneath him is Tyrande with 14 games banned.
Yeah, I wonder what happened there. But we saw a lot of power of that owl, and maybe the pro players were a little more aware of that than us.
It's Hunter's Mark.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure it's Hunter's Mark. Hunter's Mark is incredibly strong. The Sentinel is great too. That's what owl's actually called.
Hogwarts Express is what I like to call it.
Hogwarts, I like that. Even though that's a train, not the owl.
Well, it hits like a train if you spec into it. I mean, if you're hanging out, you got 1/4 health by the turn in on Blackheart's Bay, and here comes the Hogwarts Express. It hurts. You're dead.
I call it Hedwig's Kamehameha.
Oh, okay. Give it power, everyone.
Give it power.
I guess that's the spirit bomb. He doesn't.
That
take
is
power.
that is the spirit bomb. Yes.
Yeah. Let's save your emails.
Kamehameha is his own power, whereas the spirit bomb is gathered from all the living things around him. And later on in the series, throughout the whole universe.
Cheater.
I love Dragon Ball Z. Since we're at the end of the show, real quick, made the switch from I got to the end of Kai. There is no more Kais to watch, so I had to start watching the Buu saga in the original cut. Dear God, Kai has spoiled me. Dragon Ball Z moves so slow in the original cut. It's unbearable.
Who's the Fox Purple Man?
Fox Purple Man.
Yeah, there's like he like battles a fox in a cave. I've only seen clips of it, but it's popping up all over now.
It must be from a movie because I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, he's like an Egyptian cat man or something.
Oh, yeah, that's from the movie. That's from Battle of the Gods.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know the character because I haven't seen it yet, and I've been trying not to spoil it for myself. Anyways, that's going to do it for the show since we are now talking about Dragon Ball Z and not Heroes of the Storm. Big thanks to our patrons over at patreon.com/ITN. If you enjoy Into the Nexus, if you like what we're doing here and you think, man, I want to support those guys, I'll throw $1 their way. You can do so over at patreon.com/ITN. This week, we wanted to thank Gavin D, Bryce L, Kelvin, Arnt.io. Arnt is an interesting name. I thought I had an interesting name. That's a cool name. And Christopher S. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. We really do appreciate it. And also, if you're looking to support us non-monetarily and you're an iTunes listener, drop us a review on iTunes. We're caught up once again. Thanking you all. This week, thank you to Azax. Azax, you're in here every week. What took you so long, you jerk?
No, why are you even wasting your time? You're here every day supporting us, dude. I'm amazed at your dedication. Thank you so much.
Which one of us took the high road and which took the low? I'm wondering which one of us. Yeah. And also thank you to Stan Malowski, who wrote quite possibly the nicest and most detailed review I think we've ever received. So thank you, Stan. You warmed my heart.
That was really cool to see. Thanks, man.
Yeah. Into the Nexus is produced by amove.tv and our Patreon producer, Declan H. You can see more about this and all of the other AMove shows on amove.tv. Our email is itncast@gmail.com. You can catch us live every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/amovetv. Our mobile live stream is provided by alphageekradio.com. And you can follow us on Twitter at ITNcast, on Facebook /amovetv, and over on Reddit, itnpodcast.reddit.com. Also, big thanks to BrianGriffithMusic.com for our intro music. Check that out. Kyle, where can folks find you?
You can follow me over on Twitter at Kyle Ferguson. You can catch me on Solo Q&A on Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Pacific time on twitch.tv/amovetv. And at kyleferguson.com, you can sign up for a private lesson for Heroes of the Storm. It's been a treat getting to coach so many of you recently. Got to have an amazing one the other day with just, a sort of, struggling tank trying to figure out. And then by the end of our session, just night and day, just kicking butt, getting out there as Leework. Really cool to see that turnaround in such a short amount of time. So sign up for those over there. And, I'm excited because next month thanks to the Patreon, we're bringing one more little bonus show to everybody.
Yeah. Super stoked. So thank you guys very much for that. Be on the lookout. Keep an eye on patreon.com/ITN. That's where we will be posting information on when and how that will be happening. Probably going to happen on Fridays during the day, maybe a little earlier. Be nice to our European viewers.
Yeah, that sounds good. That's going to be our call-in episode.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's Friday. If you're stuck at work, sneak away from your desk. Or make the call.
I just got to step outside. You know what? That guy's taking a smoke break. You deserve a break too.
You're darn right. That always drove me nuts. when I was working as a waiter, man, they'd always get I never smoked, so all the smokers getting breaks constantly. I'm just like, man, jerks, I want a break. Right? Can I just go outside and breathe fresh air?
Yeah, that's.
I could use some fresh air. Thanks, guys.
Everyone's got those vaporizers now. Just grab a pen and pull out all the ink bit. Just go suck on that outside.
I think people would still wonder where your vapor smoke is, though.
It's advanced.
Ah, there you go. It's smokeless vapor.
Yes, it's smokeless vapor. Vaporless vapor.
Oh, wonderful. You can follow me on Twitter at Garrett Art. I'm also on nomoonart.com with my graphic design portfolio. You can find me talking Hearthstone on The Angry Chicken. But I really implore everyone to go check out my new show, The Angry Nerd, where it is a solo show. It is me talking about whatever happens to be on my mind, which turns out to be a lot of games that aren't Blizzard related. Been talking about Metal Gear Solid, been talking about how I really want to go pick up Lego Dimensions, and of course, peel back on the curtain on my personal life. Lots of cathartic rants about preparing for marriage. So check out The Angry Nerd at amove.tv/Angry Nerd or on iTunes. And it's finally on Stitcher. It's about darn time. Those guys take forever, but check it out. Just because we aren't running ads at the top of the show anymore doesn't mean these codes are any less awesome. You can check out doghousesystems.com where the code ITN will get you a free solid-state drive added onto your gaming rig, and tweakedaudio.com where the same code ITN will get you 30% off and free shipping on your entire order of noise-reducing earbuds from Tweaked Audio. We thank them for their support. We thank you for listening, and we'll see a lot of you in the after-show games, but we'll see the rest of you next week for episode 70 of Into the Nexus. Good luck and have fun.
Take care.